Hey, it's Richard with Matthews Wealth Management. Just did the asset class video. Now we're going to do the M2 and balance sheet video for January 2024. And if you've watched one of these, you've seen me do this. Gosh, how many years we've been doing this now? But this is how much is sitting in terms of money supply. This is how much money floats in the economy. And you know, the more money they print, the cheaper each dollar is in terms of its buying power. And so this is how your buying power has eroded over time. Think of it that way. And so it really started eroding. This was the crisis of 2008. Ooh, TARP, bailouting banks. That's so bad. But then, good God, COVID was just a full-on confiscation of wealth. So let's zoom in. Let me get out of the way a little bit. I don't know what the field of view is here on this. It's kind of weird being on this side of the camera. I prefer the other side. But January 2020, printed all that trillions under Trump and Pelosi. Both sides are wrong. And then we've got, we reached our peak of 21 trillion roughly, and started this QT, quantitative tightening, and then, we stopped spending so much, kind of. And we started to taper down BTFP, right? We had to bail out Signature and Silicon Valley, or technically bail out JP and First Citizens, but whatever. And look, it kind of bounced, kind of dropped, and it bounced again, right? So looks kind of like we've plateaued on what our money supply is going to be for now, because Congress likes to spend. And so let's talk about where we are now. 20.865 trillion. A month ago is 20.767. So we printed 0.5% more money in the last 1 month. So that would say, if you just times 12 it, you're somewhere in the 5.75 to 6% inflation, because that's what inflation is. It's not hard, y'all. So they printed all this new money, and it's going to eventually work its way out of the asset bubbles back into expenses, and y'all will all complain about the price of eggs. Okay. And year to date, it's always weird in January. It's the same number. 1 year ago, this was what we started to do last year, right? That, if you've followed me, I'm big into destroying dollars. That's the only way to increase wealth or measurability, right? I mean, we can't measure anything anymore. What is GDP? Oh, it's inflated dollars. And how much of that is government work versus, private? Nobody cares. Like, it's just turned into a joke. But if we keep moving this yardstick, then there's no way to know anything except for trying to watch trends and normalizing the data, which there's lots of ways to normalize data, just so y'all know. The lies, damn lies, and statistics thing. So anyway, I shouldn't say that. I'm in church. I don't know. They're really bad lies. So January 1st, this is pre-COVID, we were at 15.4 trillion, which is already ridiculous. And we've increased money supply by 35.52% now. So that's actually been coming down. It just went back up. But anything that's positive is bad. That's why it's red. Anything that's negative is good. That's why it's black. And so there you go, money supply. We're gonna start more inflation. And by the way, get ready, because there's gonna be a lot coming, and I'm gonna do a different video. So look for it. All right. So let's look at the balance sheet. What is the balance sheet of the Fed? The Fed decides that the private economy can't stomach losses, and so we can't have recessions ever, because recessions are they bad? Or is it just the way that we get rid of waste and bad management? I think recessions are good. That's how we actually fix a lot of the crap that our economy is stimulated into, which isn't productive, right? Hence why you can't afford rent anymore, or food, or steak dinners, or whatever. So balance sheet is a big way that the Fed just avoids recessions, right? And they buy this stuff up, inject more money, keep the drink fest going without having a hangover, right? So eventually that catches up. Anyway, here's all the stuff that happened from the mortgage crisis. This was the TARP bailouts, where they bought up all the bad stuff, all the CMOs. And then we just couldn't allow mortgages to continue. We had to keep publicly supporting them. And then this, if anybody remembers, this was a crisis pre-COVID. Nobody remembers. Nobody cares. But this was when we started the printing, right? And so what is printing? Printing basically is the Fed coming up with new dollars so that they can buy new debt that the government borrows, right? So the government says, we need $6 trillion. Fed, do you have any? And they're like, give us a moment. We can come back with $6 trillion. And it comes back to you in inflation. So it's just it's a stealth tax without any political consequence. And it's just garbage about our system. But there's all that growth of money supply, and it just had to keep on going, right? We had our stimulus, we had all of our bailout stuff, and then we have PPP and all of that. So this spike there, let me zoom in. That'll be the next one. We'll talk about that spike there. That spike there was BTFP, Bank Term Funding Program. I think that's funding. Yeah, funding or finance, whatever. It's really funny because BTFD is a different acronym. Very similar, though. And so that spike that was happening on the balance sheet was Silicon Valley, Signature Bank, Silvergate, that kind of stuff. And which is still going on, by the way. I mean, there's New York community just kind of had an issue 2 weeks ago, but nobody cares. Just don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to Trump's bad and Biden doesn't know where he is. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, so here we go. We're selling off the balance sheet. They're still doing quantitative tightening. I think that's awesome. You know, we got a long way to go, right? Just to get back to post mortgage crisis, to our previous crisis, to undo our current crisis. But there's another crisis coming. Anyway, so let's talk about those numbers. 7.63 trillion is what they have now. They had 7.67, so they sold off 0.5%, right? That's pretty good. Year to date, it's not the same number. The reasoning why, because I like to be consistent or explain inconsistencies, is that these are done weekly, right? The way that the Fed presents its balance sheet is weekly updates, whereas on the M2 money supply, they do that monthly. So I can do this 1 month ago on this week in January, and that's what we're seeing on the discrepancy there. So good. It's showing that the trend is continuing. There wasn't any abrupt change in recent history. A year ago, we've sold off 9%. That's good. That needs to continue. It needs to actually accelerate, but the market can't handle that for obvious reasons. And then we look at the balance sheet since COVID, 82%. We were over 100, so they're doing it. But yeah, by the time we get this done, there's another crisis. That's just the way it goes. So let's look at dollars. The balance sheet, the Fed did a decent job and sold off about $40 billion worth of crappy mortgages and really bad treasuries and other stuff. And they took a huge loss, by the way. Audit them, and you'll see. And then you got the M2 growth. Wait a minute. So we sold off those. And just so you know, when the Fed sells a bond and then they get that money back that they paid for it, what do they do with it? They don't put it in their pocket. They destroy those dollars. So that's good. We want to destroy those dollars. So when they've destroyed $40 billion, but then M2 grew by nearly $100 billion, how does that happen? Oh, that's your representatives in Congress that can't manage a budget, and they blew out a monthly deficit of $137 billion. So, you know, even though the Fed's trying, Congress isn't, and it's still going to hurt you with inflation. So maybe you'll put 2 and 2 together and vote right. I don't know. Does this matter? Yeah. Do you care? Probably not. But I still do the videos, whatever. Yeah, so business as usual, but here are the numbers for January. I'm going to do a kind of a what's coming video, and I'm going to do a qualified charitable distribution video, and that'll be enough videos for today. And then back to work. So see you next time.